Welcome to Type Tune Tint. I'm Tom Krantz. When was the last time you looked in a mirror? Not just to adjust your hair, but to adjust your life. The mirror we're talking about today is the one that takes a hard look at the inner you, the person you wish you were, or the person others perceive you to be. Where is the real you? Is he or she lost? My guest is Jasmine Stevenson, a young woman whose book, Getting to Know Yourself, asks the question, do you know you? And I'm joined now from her palatial estate in Passaic, New Jersey, Jasmine Stevenson, life coach, author, and while she does a whole lot of other things, which she will tell us about. Jasmine, how are you today?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
Good. No complaints, So it's October in New Jersey. It's chilly outside, but we're both inside our cozy homes because neither of us is working today. Yay.
Yes.
So I first met Jasmine at the Independent Authors Book Expo in Roselle, New Jersey over the summer. It was a very warm day, but we were under our tent, and Jasmine had her extended family with her, and I had just me with her. But after being there for a few hours, I kind of felt like I was part of the crew there.
We're family now.
Yeah, all right. So you had a lot of folks with you there, and I noticed in the beginning of your book, which we're going to talk about in a minute, you really thank your support system and and it's pretty extensive. You've got not only family, but extended family. Tell us a little bit about how important it is to have a support system like that.
I believe that it's a wonderful thing to have family because, who wants to feel like, they're alone and you have people that's pushing you and also see your drive and your potential even greater than what you see. So I love family.
Yeah, well, it's good, especially when you get along with them, right? Because
Yes.
not everybody can say that. So let's get into the reason we were together, which was the book fair and the book you wrote, which is called Getting to Know Yourself. And this book seems to be like, I hate to just kind of categorize it into a self-help book, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
A combination of an explainer, self-exploration, and also kind of a workbook. Tell us just, a little bit about the book and what it is and why you wrote it.
Okay, so Getting to Know Yourself, Do You Know You was pretty much produced out of my pain. And I say that because I was in a very low and depressed place. I lost two people back to back pretty much last year in 2021. My best friend, who was only 25, and a second mom to me who passed 11 days after my best friend. So, and prior to that, of course, me being young, dating people, not really knowing my value and accepting things for what it was and thinking that it was enough, I realized like I was no longer in the space that I'm usually in. I'm usually a goofy, outgoing individual, and I saw myself like very low. I would go to work, shut myself in my room when I get home and just, pretty much not eat or anything. So I realized like this wasn't me and I had to do something. So it became more of an activity asking myself questions. And so I can dig deep and figure out why I'm reacting the way I am and why am I viewing things certain ways. And I also didn't only do it with myself. I brought other people along with me, my friends, my mom. I dragged my mom along. But I realized that like my mindset was changing and also other people's mindset was changing. So I decided to make it more of an actual published book. And it was going to be one big lump sum, but I decided to break it down into 3 volumes. And right now, currently, volume 1 is only out, but I'm working on volume 2 and 3.
So I think, getting volume 1 done is an accomplishment in itself. Anybody who's actually had to sit down and write, you got to kind of, some days you got to force yourself. And the subject matter that you chose is, you're a pretty young person.
Yeah.
I think that's, pretty remarkable that you actually had the patience and the will to hold a mirror up to yourself and kind of pick yourself apart. It kind of sounds like what you did.
Yes.
So how does that, that must be a very daunting project when you first decide, I got to do this.
It was like, okay, so anybody, no matter the age, just pretty much sitting down and depicting everything about yourself is pretty tough. Like you are really like exposing yourself to yourself, which can be very uncomfortable. A lot of us do not like to sit in our own thoughts. And I believe COVID made us do that a lot. Sit
Mm.
down, forced us rather to sit down and sit in our thoughts, which can be very scary, but also a beautiful thing because there's things that you are learning about yourself that you never thought was possible, or just in general, just you just didn't know what you may be thinking and things like that. So I don't know. It's a tough thing, plus it's also a beautiful thing.
Sounds to me like it opens the door if you're able to kind of confront some of the stuff about you that maybe is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You can go on and maybe it makes things in general better. What do you think? Do you think COVID kind of was part of what pushed you to do this? You know, kind of being, I don't know, when you during COVID, did you work from home or were you
No,
furloughed or what was your?
I was still working in the field. So I am assistant manager of a group home. So I have to go in no matter what. Um, but again, I was pretending. I always had a smile on my face going into work because it made me happy. What I do was very rewarding. But when I came back home, reality hit. I'm not happy.
So, and meaning you were depressed, you were feeling just
Yes.
bad about yourself, and this you drew this all back to the losses that you had, or were there other things
It
going on
was,
as well?
well, as I previously mentioned, it was the losses. It was me like, settling for things that I shouldn't settle for, knowing that
Mm.
I am better than certain things. But I don't know. Like at that moment, I didn't think that I was valuable or valued in certain ways. So had to realize that no, you are better than this. You can get whatever you want if you put your mind to it. You are precious. I always said affirmations to myself. I didn't believe it at the moment, but once you say it and you repeat it and things like that, it becomes you. So, yeah, I was not happy. I was very depressed, but no one knew until my rug became too full and then my rug couldn't hide my mess.
I got you. So, you know, as so many of us out there have done things like therapy and, you know, for a lot of the same reasons,
Mhm.
but it's really so great that you're doing it now while you're young and not like living with all that crap for another 30 years, which is what a lot of us do. You
Yeah.
know, there's a reason why, you know, there's one of my wife works at a crisis hotline and she deals with people who call in, they want to, you know, commit suicide and
Mhm.
whatnot. A lot of those guys are men in their 60s who have sat down and done in their 60s what you did and realized that, you know, they didn't have any other way out because they never found a way to deal with their
Mhm.
stuff. So dealing with your stuff at your age, I'm guessing you're in your 20s. I don't really
Yeah,
know.
I'm
Doesn't really matter. Okay.
28.
So like look at all you so you dealt with it now instead of, you know, kind of living with it over 30 years, which is great. And then you decided to write a book. Is your book kind of a how-to, or is it is it like an exposure of what you went through, or is it a little bit of both?
Okay, so it's not really a how to, and it's also not about what I've been through. I don't really even talk about what I've been through because everybody's situation is different.
Sure.
So that's also why I didn't write a novel because you're reading about what I've been through and how I've handled things. But I felt like writing a self help workbook is you digging deep and you're answering the questions truthfully for yourself so you can understand why you aren't answering or why you're looking at certain things certain ways. And then you can always go back to those questions and realize that your mindset has changed. You're no longer in that space anymore.
So does the book have exercises, or is there stuff that you fill in, or what?
It's a
How do you do that?
It's pretty much questions. So I always tell people, I mean, I can't tell you what to write. You can only be honest with yourself. So it was just answering questions. For an example, what does success mean to you? You have to figure out what success means to you, not based on what society says success is. And
So you're dealing with trying to figure out how you view yourself and live that way instead of living through what
oh,
other people think of you.
yes,
That's hard. That's
it
really hard for a lot of
is.
people.
It is.
Um, what kind of advice would you give to people who went through maybe not the exact same situation you did, but people your age? I mean, I think that I think being young is harder now than it's ever been. Being teenagers, first of all, when I
Mhm.
grew up, there was no social media. We didn't have to worry about
Yes.
taking pictures and sending them and all that
And how
stuff.
many and how many likes you get, how many
Yeah, and how
comments
many
you get.
friends and follow and all that junk.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have younger clients who you, as a life coach, who you talk to, or where does that
Well, I
conversation go?
do. I do. And a lot of the younger ones, they always tell me, like, I always thought this person was my friend. I always felt that this person was my friend, but I realized they weren't. And my thing is, you have to live for you. You shouldn't be living to have friends. Live and be authentically you.
Hmm.
You're always going to have support, whether it's one person, or whether it's 100 people. There's always going to be people backing you up. So that's always my advice for young individuals. But people my age, I always tell them it's okay, or even younger people and older people, it's okay to talk about what you're feeling. Don't hold it in, because
Yeah.
once you do, it's gonna become too much, and then you're gonna end up exploding, and no one's gonna understand why you're exploding. So it's better that you talk and say it out loud, so you can even hear yourself speaking and understand and hear what it is that you're feeling. Because sometimes we don't understand. I mean, we don't know what we're feeling until we say it aloud.
I'll be right back with Jasmine Stevenson.
It's 2055 and action to save the Earth from climate change is too little too late. The Artemis program stumbles as money is diverted to protect citizens from vicious storms, runaway fires, and drought. The moon colony, called the Daedalus Dome, home to more than 5,000 refugees, is in the grips of an epidemic, rampant drug addiction, and a serial killer. We need a hero. Enter Rick Stein, plucked from obscurity by Lieutenant Jenna McNamara, to lead a heavily armed force to liberate the moon and the Earth from the tyranny of greed. Read Moon Rescue by Tom Krantz, available in audiobook, ebook, paperback, and hardback. Moon Rescue by Tom Krantz on Amazon. Plan your escape today.
You're, in addition to working for an agency for the disabled and being an author, you're also a life coach. And I just mentioned that kind of in passing. And as a life coach, do you have male clients in addition to female clients?
I have two male clients, but
The reason I'm asking is because I basically consider men to be a bigger pain than women in pretty much every aspect. And I say
yeah.
that as a male, yes. And I've had male bosses and I've had female bosses. And I told my wife this: I've never had trouble with any female boss, but the male bosses have always been a pain. Well, not all of them, but some of them. So
Most.
is there a difference in the way young men or men in general approach self-examination? I'm betting it's harder for men to do it than for women, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think that most men, they try to hold their pride, and it's like, I can't be soft, if you will. I can't be vulnerable. But that actually is what's making you, it's making you weak. I feel like when you're able to talk and be vulnerable, you're very strong. But a lot of men do not say that because of what society makes men look like, or what a man is supposed to look like.
And do you think that race is also a part of this whole thing, whether it's whether it's clients who are men or women of color or Asian, or some other, is that part of the equation as well? I mean, do you have to work, I guess I'm asking, do you have to work harder to do all this because you're Black, for example?
I would say yes. And especially, and also because I'm young. So it's like, what experience do you have? So yeah, for sure.
Okay. So tell me about the second and third books that you have in the works. Are they similar to the first
They're,
one, or what's the story there?
so they're very similar. So this one is called Getting to Know Yourself. And so it's kind of, I wouldn't say easy questions, but they're easier than the volume 2 and 3.
Okay.
Volume 2 will be digging deeper. So we're
Okay.
digging deeper. And then volume 3 will be more of like a spiritual aspect. Well, I wouldn't say more spiritual, but there are spiritual questions.
I got you. You have so I see that your book is available on Amazon. Is it
Mhm.
available anyplace else, or is that your primary sales platform?
Yes, that's my primary sales platform.
Okay. How do you find that your own self-discovery and your journey has helped you in your work? Has it helped you in
And
dealing with clients and dealing with the disabled?
I would say so, more in a confident way. Because usually, like, I've been in this field for quite some time, but would always second guess myself. But now, like, discovering myself a little more and understanding like who I am, I know exactly what I can do and I can do it with confidence. So I would definitely say it has helped me with like, and also like speaking, because I used to be very scared with speaking in front of people or even like expressing my feelings and things like that. But again, I'm supposed to be heard. So I am going to express myself and my concerns and yeah, how I feel.
Well, you were heard at the book expo for sure. You were one of the folks who got up in front of people, in front of
Yeah.
a camera. I have pictures of you, so I have proof. And you did pretty well. As I said, you gave a very moving talk about what happened in your life and kind of the journey towards writing. What about your writing process? When you wrote this book, did you set aside a certain day every day, a certain time, or did you write it kind of while you're watching TV, or what was your process for writing?
So again, it was just an activity at first. But then when I decided I was going to publish it and I had to break it down into like 3 volumes, I didn't really have a set time. Like it was really my baby, if you will. Like this was my project.
Hmm.
So I would wake up in the middle of the night because it was in my mind. I had to
Hmm.
figure out like how I'm going to like organize it. And even doing so, like I tears, so many tears, because like this is something that I really have produced. Like I'm able to talk about what I've been through now, and I'm able to produce something big out of the pain that I've been through. So there was no set aside time. It was really like the spur of the moment, but mainly most of the times I would wake up in the middle of the night, like I have to get this done.
Hmm. And so you had planned all along to do this in three parts?
No, it was supposed to be one big lump sum,
Okay.
but I felt like that it would be so overwhelming
Yeah,
that I had to break it down because you have to get to know yourself, you have to dig deeper,
sure.
and now you're exposing yourself to yourself.
Like, other writers, and this happens to me all the time. I'll write something and then I'll walk away from it for a couple of days and I'll look at it and say, wow, I can't believe I wrote that. And I
Mhm.
like toss it and start over again. Did you do that as well sometimes?
Yes. For
Like you can't
sure.
believe this actually came out of your brain.
For sure.
I mean, sometimes that's a good thing. It's like, wow, I wrote that. And then sometimes it's
Mhm.
like, oh, I wrote that. So the
For
same
sure.
thing, huh?
It was both of those.
So had you written anything before you wrote this book? I mean, had you written anything other than like, a letter or Facebook post, that kind of thing?
About like to
Like anything
advertise it?
longer or anything about, anything kind of exploratory or anything at all? Were you a writer per se?
No, not at all. Actually, I never saw my life going this way.
Mm-hmm.
Never. And then here we are.
And here you are. Are you finding good responses to this book? Are you finding people are saying, oh, yeah, why didn't I think of that? Or this is really great advice, that kind of thing?
Yeah, and a lot of people are actually using them for seminars, for mental health
Really?
seminars and things like that. And I'm also, I guess you can add motivational speaker to my title because
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who are contacting me about coming to schools to talk about depression. And I also want to add in like self care and self love because I feel like that's very important, especially for women and men too. But yeah, so I guess you can put motivational speaker at the end of my
I'm
name.
running out of room in my little two-line the description of you here, but that's cool. This is great. So the book is called Getting to Know Yourself. Do you know you? And that's a good question for pretty much everybody, whether or not you're suffering from depression, because I think many of us, maybe even most of us, don't ever ask those questions.
Mhm.
Looking at yourself in the mirror and asking easy or hard questions about who you are and the way you live and whatnot. The book is by Jasmine Stevenson, and Jasmine is Jazmine, and Stevenson is with a V, not a PH, because I looked you up several times as a PH and I finally got it. And the book is available on Amazon, Getting to Know Yourself. Do you know you? And we'll be watching for volumes 2 and 3 coming soon.
Yes,
Jasmine, I appreciate you being with me and be well.
thank you. You as well.
Hi, folks. Tom Krantz here. I appreciate you tuning in to my podcast, Type Tune Tint, and I especially appreciate those of you who have subscribed. I started this subscriber thing in July of 2024, really just as a way of recouping a little bit of the costs of doing this podcast. There's website hosting and there's WordPress additions, and occasionally I buy a book so that I can actually know what I'm talking about when I interview an author. You can subscribe to this podcast for as little as $3 a month. Comes off your credit card automatically. And for $3 a month, you get the satisfaction of knowing that you're helping keep this podcast going. I'm in my 5th year now, but also I will occasionally offer exclusive content just for subscribers. So give it a shot. I appreciate you taking the plunge. You can unsubscribe anytime you want. If you have any questions or comments, of course, you know how to get in touch. So please subscribe, and I appreciate it. Thanks.